Hello, everyone. Welcome to our podcast on cloud security today. Today, we have a very special guest with us to discuss the topic that gains a lot of traction in cybersecurity community. And the guest is well renowned and well known, Krish. I mean, I will not use some great fancy words for him because he is too shy for those words. But yes, he is one of our finest cyber guru we could ever had. And also, he's one of the most motivating personality for me to learn about cybersecurity. And that's very good to having you, Krish, here. Hope you're doing well, brother. Today,
Hey,
we will be
Anas.
talking, yeah, thanks,
Yeah.
Krish. So we will be discussing on the certificate of cloud auditing knowledge, which we pronounce in CCAK also. So this certification is becoming increasingly important for cloud professionals and security professionals. We'll dive into what and why it's essential and how it benefits the career. To let's jump right into the same to understand what Krish will let us know about the value. To start with, take it very simple. Can you tell us what exactly the CCAK certification is and why it's becoming such an important credential for cloud security professionals? By just looking at you, it gives an idea to understand about that. So why it's so, Krish?
Okay. So when talking about CCAK, first of all, there is a small correction in whatever we have discussed. When talking about CCAK, first of all, it's not a certification. That's many people have a first concept that CCAK is a certification actually. So certification is something which you have to renew like in a particular intervals, maybe a particular number of years you have to renew. You have to maintain the CPs and all. But when you go for something called as a certificate, this CCAK is a certificate. So it's a credential which
Okay.
is provided by the ISACA and CSA, and obviously this is a certificate. And it's a world's first ever technical vendor neutral certification. So I mean certificate actually, credential for cloud computing. So and cloud auditing specifically. When talking about cloud governance, risk management, compliance, assessment, and auditing, and all, this is the first ever technical vendor neutral credential we are having.
Okay. That's great. That's great. It's very fine you have explained about this. But I mean, also to understand how someone determine if CCAK certification is the right path for them. What kind of professional would you benefit? Most of these certifications you think can do.
So, see, this is basically something I would say as a add-on for people. Like, for example, if you are a person who is actually a cloud architect or cloud security expert, or you are a like auditor, or you are an assessor, or you are we can say as a compliance manager, or if you are a security analyst, or you are the person who is procuring something in your company and all. So, if you want to basically build a governance in the cloud platform, or if you want to have a GRC, a governance risk and compliance management in the cloud platform, and if you want to perform a proper assessment in the cloud platform, this is the one for you. So this particular certificate program is something which will give you a very detailed idea regarding what exactly is the various specific challenges we have in the governance risk and compliance aspects in cloud computing, how it can basically impact our business, what are the controls we can basically have to keep in mind for managing it in a strategic perspective, what is the auditing guidelines in cloud computing. So for example, let's say there is a person who is already an auditor for ISO, or he's an auditor for maybe some kind of on-premises scenarios, and when he go to audit a cloud platform, what extra challenges he's facing, or what additional things he has to get the visibility, that gap is also basically what this particular certificate program will fill.
That's interesting to understand. You mentioned it a very wise way that it really complies to specifically in the specific domains that you have mentioned, but it also gives me a curiosity to understand that how and now there are so many certifications out there for cloud. Like as far as I remember, there's AWS, there's one I think GCP is there. So how does CCAK differ from other cloud certifications?
Okay, so when talking about AWS certifications, Azure certifications, Google Cloud Platform, GCP certifications, and all these are specific to one platform. Like when you come to me for a AWS security training or Google security training or etc., what I do is that I teach you how to secure that particular cloud platform. I'm teaching you what are the tools we can use and how to do it in practical to secure the cloud platform. But when it comes to CCAK, I'm not talking about one particular platform, or I'm not talking about how how this one single platform is going to fix the things up. I'm going to talk about basically when going for a generic cloud. It can let it be any cloud platform. When talking about the cloud platform, what are the key aspects we have to keep in mind? How can it basically impact our business? What are the governance level aspects? Because when talking about, I'll give you one more example there. Now, there is a person who is working in the company. Like, for example, in a company, we have developers, we have a testers, we have a SOC experts, we have a pen testers. So these kind of people are working in the technical level where they deploy things, and that is what we are learning in this normal, platform vendor level certifications. But here I'm talking about the governance. I'm talking about the strategic level, where I
Correct.
basically want to make sure whatever is happening in the business in terms of cloud, in terms of GRC, in terms of auditing and assessment, all these things, it's aligned with the proper business governance requirements. So CCAK is
Okay.
something where it's a complete vendor neutral program, where we are not going to talk about one single cloud platform, or where we are not going to talk about a cloud service provider on how to do it in that provider, but we're talking about the way generic governance aspects or auditing and assessment aspects specific to a whole cloud infrastructure.
Okay. So we can say CCAK is a bigger umbrella where beneath that umbrella we can see all different type of technical cloud
Yes,
services which can be
yes,
covered in that part. That's great.
exactly,
That's very nice to
exactly.
understand. That's good.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is something very serious you people get as a learner that when somebody asks about some main topics and some important topics, something like that. So, but still, I want to ask you, maybe going to allow you a lot, but I'll ask you the same question again. Could you tell us about some main topic that covered CCAK exam? I mean, how one should approach their study to ensure that they're well prepared? I mean, there should be no lag in their preparations.
See, now when talking about the CCAK thing, like when I went it for the first time, I adopted it a bit early. When it came in the market, I just want to try it out because it was the first ever thing on cloud auditing. I was so excited about that. So it's like it covers everything which is sufficient enough for a person to have a proper governance or compliance or auditing aspects in the cloud platform. So here we the if you ask me about the key topics, like it's like cloud governance is there, we have
Okay.
a cloud compliance program is there, we have this CCM cloud control metrics, we have to how to build a cloud compliance program, we have this auditing perspective in how to do the auditing, what are the gaps in the auditing in the cloud platform, what is a star certification, what is the DevSecOps levels concerns in the cloud platform. Like it covers a vast variety of areas which basically helps the business in every
Hmm.
perspective.
That's I can understand. I mean, that's very nice. But out of this, there is something we wanted to add in, and which I always used to ask you. Whenever I meet you, I used to ask you about the Krish because it also gives me motivation. I mean, the last time when I met, I asked you that still tell me. But out of curiosity, I want to ask once again, could you share your journey? I mean, could you share your journey? How did you get into cloud security, GRC, and auditing it all? Because this
See,
helps our learner to know more.
okay, so basically, it's been around like 19 years. I've been fighting in this IT infrastructure, IT world, and I started my career as a like a hardware expert. So basically, I
Okay.
validate the hardware and those kind of things. And I moved to one of my most interesting or most passionate area, which is called as Linux and open source. I was on it
Hmm.
for a long time. I was able to work with a lot of great personals on that in their field and all. And in 2010 I was able to move to cloud computing. In fact, I will there is a very important point for the people who is listening to this actually, because when I moved to cloud in 2010, many people were actually saying that cloud is something which is going to be which is not going to be a future technology actually. But after
Okay.
some time that if you see the market now, cloud is everywhere. So what I
Yeah.
have done is that I started my learning in a cloud. So I started learning a cloud platform first of all, and over a period of time, I learned multiple cloud platforms as I was supporting multiple clients. I was supporting almost around like 60 plus organizations worldwide. And after I was able to, after I done a lot of things, I realized that so those things I am doing is basically something regarding the implementation, which is basically not going to, not thinking about the business. So basically, whatever, let's say I got a requirement, I'm trying to implement that in a cloud platform. But at a point of time that in 2015, I can say, I have realized that
Hmm.
whatever we are doing now, but how do I know that this is supporting the business? So we have governance policies, we have HR policies, we have policies everywhere in the company. But what about cloud? When you go to cloud platform, you need policies, you need to have visibility, you need to have a compliance. So at that point, I basically started, learning this particular cloud knowledge or cloud governance and kind of stuff like that, where I completed many programs like CCSK, CCSP, and many other governance level stuff. So I got a lot of in-depth information regarding that from that reading and multiple, use cases I have handled. And then when the CCAK came in the market, I was got super excited because obviously it's a more simplified but yet worth it certificate I have seen. So I jumped into it, and it was like I was able to clear it in the first attempt because it was not complicated. If you know the stuff, you can pass. That's it. It's not like you have to memorize a lot of stuff and take your time 1,000 days to study. It's just a concepts understanding. If you know the things, if you have worked in that, then go for the exam. You will pass. That's it.
That's great to hear. I mean, this is something very interesting. We always love to hear from you about your journey. And you also mentioned very wisely that you just cleared the CCAK certificate in one attempt, which defines that it's really good to have a learning under your umbrella. I mean, but still, now considering the CCAK certification, what prerequisites should be aware of? What tips would you give to them? Like as you mentioned that you have cleared the exam in a very fine way. What effectively some tips you wanted to add for them as a part of preparation, which allow them to pass it in a very smooth way?
Okay, so make it simple. See, this is basically, it may feel odd for some people, but this is basically my suggestion for that. When talking about an exam, please don't learn only for passing an exam, because if you want to simply pass the exam, get certified for a lot of things, it doesn't make any business value for you. Actually, when you basically go for a learning path, it's not like simply passing the exam. First thing is that you have to get your knowledge right, because you need to apply this right. Even after you get the certificate done, you need to make sure you're able to apply this in real time, right? So obviously learning is a very important part. And definitely, first of all, like if a person is coming to me for learning CCAK, the first thing I would say tell him is that you must be aware of at least one cloud platform. It can be any platform. It can be AWS, it can be Azure, it can be GCP, it can be Alibaba, OCI, whatever it is. He must be aware of at least one cloud platform. Not in a super depth level, but he must know the overview concepts, the cloud level things he must know in a very high level. That's the first thing he must have. Then obviously some background in information security or auditing can definitely help for sure. That's the first thing I tell him. And plus using the right materials will definitely help him to pass the exam for sure.
Okay. I mean, for that, we have you. We know how good you are into sharing your insights through LinkedIn and other platforms. It is also learning for me as well. That's fine. You mentioned beyond passing exam, you focus on learning. That's very great. You mentioned. But after this, there one more thing comes up to our mind to understand what are the other benefits that one does obtain from CCAK certification to provide as a professional.
See, now, yeah. So when talking about the benefits for a person who passed the certificate program, the thing is that obviously it validates your skill on cloud computing. Let's suppose that I'm an auditor who is basically ISO certified auditor, or I'm PCI certified. So I know these things, how to do it on the on-premises infrastructure. But when I basically go to the cloud platform, there is as I mentioned before, there is a gap we are having regarding what we have in the on-premise and what the cloud. There is a small gap we are having. So addressing this particular gap is a very important point. This is basically what you're primarily getting when talking about the CCAK. Secondly, you will also get an understanding of how to define a governance in cloud. So now you are saying, Krish, I want to basically have a proper cloud governance. Okay, where do you start? What documents you have to prepare for that? What is the step-by-step process we have to follow for that? What criteria we have to keep in mind when you perform a cloud auditing? So here I'm not talking about entering or doing an entire end-to-end auditing on the on-premises something. I'm talking specifically about the cloud level perspective of in CCAK. But definitely this will help anyone. It can be an auditor, it can be a compliance manager, it can be a cloud architect, and all these guys to basically get the deeper concepts on GRC, governance, risk and compliance, auditing, assessment, and all the stuff specific to cloud computing for sure. And obviously they can prove it, right? When you have a valid certificate from a body like ISACA and all, it's something where you can prove it to the your management, or basically the companies you're working, that you have a skill validated by a third party. It's obviously good.
True. I mean, that's very nice. Last night I was just reviewing this topic and I just found a word which was very fascinating for me to also understand, because I counted this word multiple times on the entire learning page. That we call cloud control matrix. I think it's CCM, a big part of CCS exam.
Yeah.
So can you elaborate us about that?
Got it. Yeah. So CCM is basically by the CSA, the Cloud Security Alliance. The CCM stands
Okay.
for Cloud Control Metrics, and the CCM is a framework. It's not a certification; it's just a framework. It's a framework which
Hmm.
basically help us to understand, or which basically help us to cover all the key aspects of cloud technology and security. I'll give you an example for that. Now, the best way to understand this: let's suppose that we have a certification called as a ISO. Let's suppose we have a ISO 27001 for ISMS.
Okay.
We have a NIST frameworks are there. We have a AICPA SOC is there. We have a PCI DSS is there. We have many certifications, frameworks, standards, regulations are there in the market. But are these particular standards aligned with the cloud? No. Like for example, let's say
Hmm.
Mike, like if you see all the companies, if you see Infosec Train, if you see any organizations worldwide, we all are having many certifications, many standards and all, which we are following. But that is something which is specific to the on-premises, right? But when it comes to the
Okay.
cloud platform, can I basically take this exactly to the cloud platform? No. There we have some blind spots which is not covered in the legacy standards we are having. So this CCM help us to figure out those particular standards and I would say gaps actually, and that gaps can be properly addressed when you basically follow this proper framework called as a CCM, Cloud Control Metrics. It's a kind of a simplified framework which helps us to make sure that we are able to have a proper guidance regarding how to implement or how to assess or how to monitor a proper say infrastructure on the cloud platform regarding every aspect: cost management, compliance, data security, incident response. They have almost like they have 17 domains as of the latest version. They have
Okay.
17 domains and they have 197 objectives where they will basically verify all. When you verify all these things, it'll give you an assurance regarding your cloud journey in your company.
Hmm. So, in a very simple language, we can say that CCM stands for a good manual to do all the internal tasks and
Yes,
procedures
a
which
good
we have in
framework.
CCAK.
A good
Good
framework. Yes,
framework.
exactly.
That's great. That's nice. That's fine. I mean, also there is one common word these days are very getting in trending market, that is hands-on experiences. So everything, whatever we learn, we just talk about our hands-on experiences. So how is it important to have a hands-on experience in cloud environment when preparing for CCAK exam? It's very simple.
So now, for when you before you go for the CCAK training, I would say that, or if you're preparing yourself also, before that, as I told you before, it's very important for you to have a platform level knowledge. Like it can be any platform, but you must be familiar with the cloud platform. Any platform, it's
Hmm.
basically very important. First of all, the second thing is that when talking about the hands-on perspective in this training, CCAK is a program where we talk about the governance, compliance, and all those kind of aspects. So we are not having any hands-on in CCAK. Like this is basically where we are having hands-on on a strategic basis. It's not like
Okay.
you have to open a cloud provider console and do the configuration stuff there, but here you are learning about the governance aspects. So you will learn how to prepare a policy. You will learn how to prepare a compliance program. You will learn how to prepare a simple audit report. So you will learn about all these things in a governance and strategic perspective. But we are not. It's not something where we have to go for a particular platform and do it.
Okay, fine. So, do you think any advantage somebody will give while having CCAK examination or certification if related to any specific Amazon, any specific cloud platform? Do you think any cloud platform will give a leverage to someone, or it's fine to have
Anything is
any?
fine. See, they can go for any, because at the end of the day the cloud platforms operate in the same way, and like there are some different services, there are some different aspects of it. But again, the CCAK or CCSK or these kind of certificate programs are covering all those aspects in a very extensive way, so we are able to relate it
Mhm.
to any vendor. It's completely fine.
Okay, that's very fine. One thing finally coming to my mind, because we have entirely covered this part into a very small understanding book, you can say we have created in a very simple form. But yes, finally, what should someone look into this certification as a part of learner and learning this from CCAK certification from InfoSec Train? I mean, how
Okay.
you wanted to bind this?
Okay. See, now this is something which always want to explain to people, because when you say you're going for a particular person or a company for learning something, there is multiple factors you have to look into. Obviously, the curriculum and everything, because that's official curriculum for sure. But more than that, one major thing is that the person who is teaching you, if you are preparing
Mhm.
only for the exam, that is just a waste of time. Trust me, team. If you are going for a training anywhere just for simply preparing for the exam, it doesn't make any sense. So what
Okay.
I strongly recommend is that like the reason why you can basically join InfoSec Train for this training is because, so here the people including me who basically teach you on this, we are working in the industry. It's not like we are doing the training 24/7 and giving you the inputs which we memorize. Whatever we are
Mhm.
doing is whatever I'm doing in my job role regularly is what I'm teaching you. Like for example, when a person is coming to me and ask me, Krish, what is a cloud governance or what is a cloud compliance program? So whatever I have done in my previous job roles, whatever I have done in my
Mhm.
existing clients and all, that's what I'm sharing with you. So basically, always learn from people who have the real industry exposure. Like, I have seen many people, you can find a lot of videos, you can find a lot of, stuff over the internet, which can basically give you just, exam passing skills. But that is not what we
Okay.
want. When learning CCSK or CCAK or any kind of even information security also or anything like that, learn from people who have a real industry experience. This is my first suggestion, team. Even if I am also a learner, let's say for example, if I'm going for training somewhere, this is the first thing I will look into. If that person,
Mhm.
the trainer who is doing that, does he have an actual industry experience, or does he actually have you seen that in real time? Because
Mhm.
let me give an
Right.
example. If there is a person who has not done the auditing in real time, or if there is a person who has not prepared a cloud policy in real time, if there is a person who has not done a proper practical risk assessment in the cloud platform, then how can he explain it to you? Do just
Correct.
if you just want the simple steps, we can just go to some YouTube and search it for, right, like that. So always
Mhm.
learn from
That's
people who basically have the real industry exposure, and that's the major reason I would say that you can come to InfoSec Train. Plus, obviously, also look for the trainer certification, because now see if the trainer is also certified. Now, why that is an
correct.
important thing. Until unless the trainer has done the certification or basically the certificate training program and he has appeared the exam, how would he know that this is how the exam stress would be, this is how the exam is going to, or this is how you have to have a mindset for the examination? So obviously I recommend making sure that the trainer have a proper industry experience is a very important thing for sure, like that.
Mm. That's great. That's very insightful to understand me that also that you when you are taking such knowledge, you should take from somebody who actually has practically implemented as well as he has qualified the examinations. Both the things he has in his hands. So do you have any timeline? Do you think this is a specific timeline which is minimum requirement one should have to prepare for the certification? Anything, or one can do
Uh,
in any duration?
it is completely based on the person, his current existing skills and all the factors. But again,
Okay.
uh, like if you can spend a few hours a day, like 2 to 3 hours a day, and if you have a good cloud and cloud security and information security background, I would feel like 1 month is basically more than enough. But again, it would purely vary according to the person. And for materials part, the best materials you can get is basically, first of all, the official study guide. Basically, there is a the ISACA has released the official CCAK study guide. So this study guide is basically available on the ISACA website for purchasing. That is one really good book you can basically refer. That's the only book available in the market as of now, I know, which is good for
Mhm.
preparing for CCAK. The second thing is that you can also review a lot of practice questions over there ISACA website itself, or you can basically go for some websites and practice more questions, which will give you a perspective of the exam. Okay.
Oh, that's fine. I mean, I'm getting, yeah, this is something which you mentioned. I get a glimpse of your sessions. You usually cover all these parameters, these examinations, and these quizzes and every part. That's very nice. I mean, that's very
Yes.
great. Yeah. It was really nice having you word with you, Krish. I mean, it's very insightful. Whenever we talk to you, it's so excitement and thrilled to have words with you because you just bind things in a very wonderful form. It makes us learn things very quickly and easily. Thank you for so much for giving us insightful discussion. It's been a pleasure having you on the show. And for to our listeners, if you are considering enhancing your careers in cloud security and auditing, the CCAK certification could be a great step forward. That's what I think. And stay tuned for more episodes. We will bringing more to you of cybersecurity trends and careers along with Krish. He'll be available for us always. If you wanted to add any last line, it will be up to you so that we can give a closure.
So it's a nice time, like interacting with you and us. Also, team, like one more thing I just want to add. I know it's it's a we're about to close, but again, one more thing is that whenever you basically go for any kind of a certification or learning, the first thing is that I always suggest that before you plan for doing a, it's not like many. I have seen many people go for hundreds of certifications and try to make it a pile up the certification this. But instead of doing that, plan your career accordingly, and based on that, you can always plan the particular certificates or certifications you have to go for. Don't have to spend all your time on going for a lot of certifications and burning your head, but it's about getting the skill set right. So what I suggest is that, team, whenever you're going for a training, always see if you can talk to the salesperson and basically the trainers who is doing that, and get your path right, and then only go for the training. That's definitely can help you customize your training path. Whenever there is a person who asks me that what should I do for my enhancing my career in something, I always say that we always will have a personal call. Like, it's like I would like to have a call with the person, so that's the way I can explain him this is how you have to build your career, which is separate for every people, like that.
That's
Okay,
fine.
team,
That's good.
that's it.
Thank you, Krish. Thank you very much. Pleasure having you on the show. Thank you. See
Thank
you
you,
until
bye.
next time. Stay secure. Take care of yourself.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
team. Bye.